Hello beautiful people, you are welcome back to Physique Fashion House channel. My name is Fola and I'm grateful for as many that has been subscribing to this channel. So if you have not subscribed, do well to subscribe today, because today I'll be teaching you something different. So today we'll be learning how to make a male native wear. It's also known as a senator wear. So that is what we'll be learning today. And to make we are going to be making long sleeve type. And to make your senator wear up and down, you will be needing like 3.5 to 4 years of a fabric. You can use any fabric of your choice. So because the one we are making today, it is stylish at the front, center front. That is why I choose to use a stripe one. So you can use plain. But for this very one we are making today, it's good you use a stripe type. So now to make the top of our senator wear, so all we need to do is to fold your fabric into two. To fold your fabric into two, you consider your chest measurement, chest or hip part. For this project, the chest measurement we are working with is 42, the waist 40 and the hip 42. So when you divide 42 into 2, it gives us a 10.5. Then you add 1 inch seam allowance, then like 1.5 inches for slit allowance. So everything will be amounting to like 13 inches. That is why I fold this fabric into 13. So you just calculate yours like that. So now the first thing we have to do now is to slant the shoulder of our senator wear. We slant it by 3 inches. So here at this end you mark 3 inches, then you slantly roll it from the shoulder at the center front. You roll it to join this, just this way. So the next thing to do is to get your shoulder length, and the shoulder length we are working with is 18 inches. So 18 inches, you divide it by 2, give us 9. Then you add seam allowance of 1/2 inch, making 9.5. So you measure your 9.5 on this line, 9.5. So 9.5. Then the next thing is for you to get your armhole line. So for the armhole line for the front, will be from this slant, we'll be using 6 inches as a armhole line. So by the time we cut we draw the back cut. The back cut will be adding to this armhole line. So but for this front, we mark 6 inches from this shoulder slope. You measure 6 inches, just this way. Then you roll it. This is our armhole line. So the next thing to do is to get the waist line. The waist line is 17 inches. So you get your waistline, which is 17 inches. Get it here. And the hip line. The hip line, you will get it on 25 inches. You mark 25 inches. That's where we get our hip. So the next thing to do now is to draw out our chest line, waist line, and the hip line. So what we do now is that this spot that we have our armhole line, we mark it is around the 8/4. So we mark the 8/4 here. Then we connect it. So this will serve as our chest line now. So here 17 inches, we mark the same 17 inches here. This will serve as our waist line. Then the hip line, 25 inches, we get it here as well. 25 inches, we mark it, then we connect it. So this will serve as our hip line. So now the next thing is to cut out the shoulder sleeve. So then we get our top length. The length we are working with is 36. So we get the 36, this is 36 there. We mark it, then we get the seam allowance of 2 inches. The next thing to do now is to measure our horizontal, to take our horizontal measurements, and the chest measurement we are working with is 42. I said earlier on, and 42 divided by 4 give us 10 and a half. So you mark 10 and a half. Then 1 inch seam allowance. The waist we are working with is 40. 40 divided by 4 give us 10. We mark 10. Then 1 inch seam allowance. The hip measurement we are working with is 42 as well. So we divide 42 by 4, give us 10 and a half. Then 1 inch seam allowance. So whatever we get here in this hip area, we have 11 and a half. So we repeat the same thing down here. 11 and a half. Then we measure 1 and a half as our slit allowance. So we mark it, and to determine where our slits will be stopping, so we can choose to use like 10 inches. So we can come up like 10 inches. Even we can take it up to the hip. So but the hip is the stopping point for the slit. So you can make it 10, it could be 12. So from the, let's take the slit from the original length. From the original length, so I'll be using 10 inches. So I mark 10 inches here. So 1 and a half. So I connect these measurements. I connect the real measurements before the seam allowance. I want everything to be clear. This is the seam allowance of 1 inch. I connect it. Then from this seam allowance, of the hip, I connect it to the slit allowance. So the next thing to do now is to draw out my armhole finally. So I just place my French cuff. So now we want to draw out our neckline now, and to achieve that you measure 3 inches, 3 inches by 3 inches. Then I connect it. Yes. So the next thing is for me to cut out the I first of all cut out the neckline. Then I cut out the armhole. Then I cut the side. Yes. So this is the front cut cover. So we are not going to open this front because our senator wear will be having zipper by the shoulder. So the next thing is to cut out the back cut. To draft out the back cut of our senator wear now, the male senator wear. So we are going to be placing this front on to cut out the back cut. But the difference there is that the back is going to be 4 inches longer than the front. So when you are cutting out your fabric for the back, you make it be 4 inches longer than the front. So the next thing is for me to measure my 4 inches now. I place my tape this way from this point. I measure 4 inches. 4 inches. As slantly as it is in my shoulder. That's the way I measure it. 4 inches. 4 inches. Then I connect it. So now, the next thing we have to do is to cut out this. So the next thing you have to do now is you now fold this your 4 inches that you have left upward. You are going to place it on the front back with like half an inch. You let it overlap with half an inch. So what you do is that you first of all measure that your half an inch here so that it will be easier for you. You measure half an inch on this shoulder part of your front cut. You roll it. You roll it. So this is the line that the one you want to fold, want to rest on now. Just this way. Yes. So you can even use your pin to hold it down. Yes. So now, what we'll now do is that this is what we are going to use to cut out our armhole now as it is placed. This is where the front cut is stopping. So you just let your hand, don't let your hand straight from up here. Come out a bit up here before you now link it to this front cut. So you cut out the same thing by the side here now. So now we want to take care of the neckline for the back now, and to achieve that, what you do is that this is the 3 inches, 3 inches the wideness. You mark it, is already there safe. So you now want to link this to this end by way of curving. You can even, let me try using the French curve, just this way. You can as well use your freehand sketch to achieve this. Yes, this is it. And mind you, when you want to cut it out now, don't cut from here so that you won't cut everything. You are not cutting everything. You are just cutting these 2 slices that I lift up. You are not cutting the down part. So you lift this up so that you won't make mistake. Yes, this is it. So we can remove our pin now. Even when you now, by the time you measure this place now, you will see that you are having your, we use the 6 inches here before. So by the time you measure it now, you can see that we are having 9 inches now. And the round arms, I mean the circumference, the arm circumference we are working with is 15. So we are having our seam allowance. 15 inches is stopping somewhere here. You can see 7.5 is 15 inches. So this is the seam allowance. So the back cut has helped the front cut now. This is it. So the next thing is to cut out the facing. Then we want to cut the center front stylish. Now I want to cut out the facing for the back cuts now. So I choose to fold my facing. I choose to fold it horizontally. The main body is a vertical, but I just want to do it this way so that it will be a design on its own. So, but before we move on, I just quickly want to bring your attention to this. For the wideness of the neck, especially when you are cutting the front cut, it could be 2.5. I mean the wideness this way. It could be 2.5, 2.75. I mean 2.5, 2.75, or 3 inches. So I just choose to use a 3 inches wideness because that's the way my client wants it. He doesn't want the neck to be too tight on him, but depends on how your client is. You can use, for average person, you can use 2.5 to 3/4. So that is for that, because this is what you will use in cutting out the back neckline. So let's move on. So to cut the facing now, so I'll be needing the length of like 8 inches. So I had 1 inch to it, so making 9 inches. So it's already on fold. So I'll just place my back cut on it this way. So, and the facing will be sewn to the right side of the fabric. So I will show you how we are going to sew it on. By the time you cut out the neckline for the back, the wideness we automatically had like a half or so. So that is the way it is. So this is the facing. This is this is the right side of the fabric. So you can choose to place it out like this. We want it to face outside because we want to use it as a design for the back feel. So this is the way you are going to sew it from inside here. So it's like with like a quarter of an inch top stitch, then you return this to the right side. So and for this down, you will have folded it in with half an inch. You fold it in, you iron very well, then you sew on it. You sew tiny on it. Let it be tiny so that that area will be neat. So that is for the back cut. So we want to go proper to the design of the front cut now. So now after we have cut out the facing for the back cut, so the next thing to do now is to cut the design we have in the front. That's a stylish design at the center front, and that one will even serve as the facing for the front cut. So and to achieve that, all you need to do is to measure the shoulder length. The shoulder length we're having here, we have 19 inches. So for this we want to do now, it depends on how wide you want yours. So you might want it smaller than that, so there is no problem. But for this video, that's the wideness we want for it. The wideness we want for it, this is a 19 inches, and 1 inch will be added to it as a seam allowance, making 20 inches. That is for the wideness. And for the length, we would like to stop around the waistline, after waist, after half length. So we'll have to stop around the 19 inches too, and we had a seam allowance to it as well, so making 20 inches. Well, if you measure what we are having this side, that we have 20 inches now, if you measure what we are having here, we are having like a 23 inches here. So which means we are going to have 1.5 inches left by this side, 1.5 inches left by this side, which I'm okay with. But our design is going to cover the whole of the shoulder. So now we are having the length and width of what we need now is 20 inches by 20 inches. So and to achieve that 20 inches by 20 inches of what we need, even to create that design, all we need to do is to divide that 20 inches by 2. If you divide 20 inches by 2, it gives us 10. You divide the width and you divide the length. So which means we are going to cut out paper of 10 inches by 10 inches. You know, what we need is 20 inches by 20 inches. So we are now we divide by 2. So we get 10 inches by 10 inches. So this is the template we are going to use to cut out our, our chevron design. So, and to achieve that now, what you do is that you fold your fabric. So I'll be needing 4 of these templates now. So what we do, firstly, ensure that you mark the wrong side of your fabric, because like this type of fabric I'm using, it is not easy for you to identify both the front and the back. So I've take note of I've identified the wrong side. So what we do is that we fold this into 4 equal parts. So, and when you are folding it, ensure that this line, this stripe, they are aligned to each other. So if you open it down here, ensure that it aligns just this way. So this is it now. it aligns to the one under. So I will fold it again, and when I fold it again, I will still ensure that it aligns. Because it is important it aligns. So if it has not aligned, you ensure that you dress it to be aligned. So we are having four pieces now. That 4 pieces, all the stripe must be aligned. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. So our pieces are aligned now. So we are good to place our template on it. So you can even use your office pin to hold it down so that it won't shift. So if you don't have fabric that can cut it together at once, I mean that can fold the 4 together at once, you can do it 2-2 in case you are doing anything wider than what we are doing here. So you are good to do it 2-2 or even 1-1. So now I want to place my template on it now. And the way you are going to place your template on it, you place your template this way. As I've placed it now, if you trace this line here, if you trace it up, you can see that it's not aligned with this. So you ensure that where this one will be must be aligned with where it is here. So I will now try to shift my hand this way. Yeah, this is it now. If you trace it up now, because many a times it might be like this, you may be thinking it aligns. It's not. This one we are having down here, this is how it goes. So you shift your hand. Yes, we have it good now. So as it is now, I will use my office pin to hold it now so that it won't shift. Yes, here we are. So I'm good to cut it out now. So I will just follow my template to cut it out. Yeah, so I'm able to cut out my chevron design. So we want to open it. So here we have 4 of it. So now the next thing is to arrange it now. Here we have with our chevron design. So the next thing to do now is to go and join it together with a half an inch. You join this together, this and this together with half an inch. You join this and this together with half an inch. You open, you iron very well. Then you now join the center with half an inch as well. You open and you iron very well. So before you now place it on the bodice of your front cut. So now our diagonal line pattern has been joined together. It has been created perfectly now. You can see how beautiful it looks. So the next thing we have to do now is to place it on our front bodice of our senator wear. So now you get the midpoint of this 23 here now. So the midpoint will be 11.5, which is A. This is the midpoint. This very line is the midpoint. So this line now, this center where this joining must be aligned with this very line. So you now place it. Yes, this is where it will be aligned with this way. So and you let it reach you know, the apex of your front cut, the shoulder part. So what you do now is that this very point now, this very point where they meet, you come up with half from this point now. You come up with half an inch here. So you measure it where this mark is. We are having this mark on from down from down part now. It falls on 19 inches. So you mark that 19 inches. You mark the 19 inches here. You mark it at this end too. Then you rule it. You connect the line together. So on this very line now, you now place your design this way. You see it was like this before. I've measured what I need to measure. The half inch we come up with is what we will use to sew it down. The way you are going to sew it down, you open it this way. Then you sew it. You sew on it. Don't forget your midpoint. This is your midpoint. Let it align with this join here. So you use half an inch to sew it down this way. Let me just use my pen to hold it down. So this is it. So after sewing on it here, you now close it back on your front bodice. So you iron it very well. So the next thing you will do is that by the side here, you fold it in with a half an inch. You fold in like half an inch to like this end. You fold it in. You iron very well. Then you stitch on it. So you do the same thing to this side. You fold it in with half an inch. You iron it very well. Then you stitch on it. So everything will be in place. So having done that, then for this shoulder, you will see you trim away this shoulder slope. The shoulder slope you are having here, you trim it away. So thereafter, this is what you will now use. Let me just, this is the right side, this is the left side. This is it. Let me just trim. This is it. Then you trim away the shoulder, the neckline. This is the neckline. You trim it away. So as you have used your pin to hold this down, this part down, even to achieve all the, to shape all the shoulder length and the neckline, then you can now join a stitch this one. So join your neckline, then you top stitch. So having done that and you iron very well and you have done all this side, so the next thing is to join the front to the back. You join the front to the back, and when you are joining the front to the back, ensure that this is it. This is the back cut now with the facing. This is the back cut with the face. I will even advise that after you have achieved all this that we have done, so you place it this is the back now. This is the front cut. So you first of all, even before joining the neckline together, first of all join. This is the, when you put it on, this is the right side, this side will be the right side. So you first of all join the lining to lining, I mean fabric to fabric. This we assume that all the facing, this facing, you join them together. Then with half an inch you open it and iron very well. You do the same thing to this body. So you iron very well. So this side, this is the left side. This is the side that our zipper, invisible zipper, short one or anyone, sir, you can still cut it even if it is the long one that is available. So you join. So for the left side now, you take your invisible zipper, you fix it on the facing and the facing. You know, this is what is the one that is we use as facing now is serving like a main body now, because they are in front. This one is in the front, while the one at the back is on in the front of the back. So that is what you will use, you know, to attach your invisible zipper. You attach it with half an inch. You attach it neatly. You attach it neatly to this facing, the front facing and the back facing. So you now use the main body even to do the facing for the zipper. Ensure that you use a matching color of the invisible zipper. It's very, very important. I'm just using this as an illustration. So make sure you fix your invisible zipper, you know, neatly, and cut away the excess. So then, having done that, you join your senator wear by the side and you close the slit. You close the slit under here. You close it neatly, the way male slit supposed to be closed. So after joining this side of your cloth, I mean the right side, after joining the shoulder part together, facing to facing, body to body, after doing that, so you join your neckline and top stitch before you now fix your invisible zipper. So that is for that. So the next thing is for us to move to the sleeve now. So you have make sure you hem the down parts of your senator wear. You hem the down parts with 2 inches allowance that you have left. Then you close, I mean you sew the slit properly. So for us to move to the sleeve now, so measure what, after, you know, joining the side of your senator wear, measure what you are having by your armhole. You know, we measure it earlier when we were cutting. After cutting the armhole, we measure it, and what we have there was 9 inches plus seam allowance of 1 inch. That is on fold. So plus 1 inch seam allowance, making 10 inches. So now we want to cut the sleeve now, and the biceps we are working with, I mean the upper arm and circumference that we are working with is 15. We add 1 to it as a ease allowance, making 16. So we divide that 16 by 2, give us 8. Then we had a 1 inch seam allowance, making 9. So you are going to fold your fabric into 9. Let it be on fold 9. So, and the length, the sleeve length we are working with is 24. You add 1 to it, making 25 as a seam allowance. So because this sleeve is having curve, So that 25, you deduct 3 inches from it for cuff. So if you deduct 3 inches from 25, it gives us 22. So you measure 22. Measure 22. And you know, the armhole length we are working with is 18 inches. When it is on fold, it's 9 inches. So from this upper part now, you come down by 4. You come down by 4. So on that 4, you measure. We have 1 inch seam allowance. Then from there, you get the 18 inches, which is 9 inches when it is on fold. So you can see that we have, from this point, we are having our 9 inches now. So you just draw it this way to match here. Yes, this is it. So for the down parts now, to shape the down parts, you know, the wrist is 10 divided by 2 give us 5. So that 5, you had like half. You had half to it to use as for the pleat. You had half to it, making 5.5. Then seam allowance of 1 inch. So you now connect it to the hop part. So this is it. We cut it now. I'm cutting the 2 sleeves together. So this is it. The next thing is to cut the cuff. So to achieve the cuff part for the wrist now, so all you need to do is to cut the 3 inches that we deducted that time. You cut it out. You just add the seam allowance of 1/2 inch, making 3.5. Then when you are folding it, fold it horizontally. You know, the main sleeve is vertical, so fold it horizontally so that it will be a style in that part also. So before you add your, join your cuff to the wrist part here, open this. This one is a 2. So you open it, then you measure in like 3.5 here, 3 to 3.5. Measure it here, then come up with 3.5. Then connect the line. As I'm doing it, the right side is facing the right side. Mind you, don't place it other way around. It's either your wrong side face the wrong side or your right side face the right side. So let the right side face the right side so that you can draw on the wrong side for the 2. So you now open it. So this opening, you use a bias or piece of your fabric to pipe this. So after joining the side of your sleeve together, so you now start joining your cuff. Then you put your pleats where it is necessary. Now you can see our senator wear with a Chevron design is ready. You can see that Physique Fashion House tag has been attached to it. You can attach yours, but ensure that you attach it before you place your facing. So you can see that it's not attached with this facing. And the side has been closed, and the side slit is properly done. You can see how neat it is. The sleeve has been attached with a cuff. See how beautiful it's looking, and the zipper has been neatly fixed. And see, this is the inside, this is the outer look. So beautiful. This is the back view of a senator wear. The back facing has been horizontally attached to it to add to the beauty. Wow, this is perfect job. I hope you have enjoyed this video. So like this video, share with your friends, and drop your comments on the comment section, and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.